Right, good morning friends. We are going to discuss Economic Survey 2014-15. I would like to tell a few things about the activities which normally go on in the last week of February every year in Parliament. Every year during the last week of February, three things happen. Normally everyone is aware about two things. The third one most of you are not aware about. The three things are, first one is the railway budget, second one is the economic survey, third one is union budget. Railway budget, economic survey and union budget. Railway budget we have already discussed. This is about economic survey. This is normally presented one day before the union budget is presented in Parliament. Just one day before union budget is presented. Normally union budget is presented on the last working day of February. One day prior to that, this economic survey is presented. What is economic survey? When the government presents union budget, they present union budget for the next year, for the incoming financial year. This economic survey talks about how the economy fared during the current year. We are in 2014-15 economic year. I have already discussed, economic year starts from 1st April and ends on 31st March. This economic survey was presented on 27th February 2015. So, this talks about the state of economy during the year 2014-15. How the economy fared. How various indicators of economy fared during the current year. How various indicators fared this year. And what should be and how the economy is going to be next year. That means how the economy fared during the current year and how the economy is going to fare in the next year. This is basically the Finance Ministry's view on the economic affairs. For this year, Chief Economic Advisor Arvind Subramanian authored the economic survey and presented in the Parliament by the Union Finance Minister Arun Jaitley. Remember, this economic survey is authored by Arvind Subramanian, Chief Economic Advisor to Government of India, and presented to Parliament by the Union Finance Minister Arun Jaitley. So, before going into the aspects of what are the main issues of this year's economic survey, I would like to talk a little about what is the economy and what is the difference between macro and micro economies. What is economy? It is basically the production, distribution and consumption of various goods. Day in and day out, goods are required, services are required. What is the difference between goods and services? If you look at rice, if you look at wheat, if you look at brinjal, if you look at this instrument, these are all goods. That means physical goods. Rice, wheat, brinjal, onions, television, camera, all these things are physical goods. What is services? Services is nothing but you get some service from some professional. When you go to doctor, you are getting some advice. Physically you are not getting anything, but you are getting advice. If you go to some auditor, you are getting some advice. If you go to some movie, physically you are not getting anything, but you are watching the movie by paying something. These are all services. Trading in goods and getting and selling services, this total constitutes economy. So, services and goods are exchanged all over the world because it is the utmost necessity for each and every human being. So, these goods and services, how they are produced, goods and services, how they are produced, how they are distributed, how they are consumed, this constitutes economy. Economy in the broader sense is human needs are there. Everyone cannot produce the needs required by him or her. So we have to depend on other individuals. So in a society, these goods and services are produced, they are distributed, and they are consumed by the required individuals. This all talks about economy. Having known about economy, let us differentiate between macroeconomy, microeconomy. Macroeconomics, microeconomics. What is the major difference? I hope you all understood about economy. But when you talk about macro and micro, how to differentiate? To understand this, I would like you to understand the role of your mother as well as the role of your father in the family structure of India. Basically, if you look at India, in many households, what exactly mothers do, what exactly fathers do, broadly I would like to explain, taking this as the example to make you understand the difference between macroeconomics and microeconomics. Look at your mother's work daily. She is very much interested in what is the cost of packet of milk, what is the cost of brinjals, kg of onions, how they are increasing, how they are reducing, what is the cost of salt, what is the cost of pepper. If the cost of onions is increasing, she will think about how to reduce expenditure, how to reduce consumption. When the cost of milk is increasing, your mother will worry about how to reduce expenditure, how to reduce consumption, how to reduce quantity. So this dynamics of increase in the cost of particular items and their association with reduction in demand, this all termed as microeconomics, micro level. That means each and every item, if the cost increases, how it will affect the demand. If the cost increases, how it will affect demand. I will tell you two examples. One is onions. If the per kg cost is 40 rupees, if it increases to 60 rupees per kg, then there may not be much effect on the consumption, because without onions, people cannot make their daily dishes. Or for example, take the example of salt. The cost of per kg salt increases from 10 rupees to 15 rupees. There may not be much reduction in the consumption of salt, because without salt you cannot eat. But take the example of color TV. If the color TV cost is increased from 20,000 to 40,000, probably nobody will purchase. The supply demand curve is different in case of salt, is different in case of color TVs. That means essential items, even though the cost is increased, there may not be much effect on the demand. But non-essential items, if the cost of brinjals only increases, I may not purchase that. I will go for tomatoes. If the cost of tomatoes increases, I may not purchase that. I will go for alternatives like brinjals, lady's finger, like that. So that means the relation between cost and its demand for individual items. Please remember, for individual items, that is microeconomics. Your mother is worried about microeconomics. Let us come back to the second aspect. What your father does. Your father is very much worried about future, how to educate my children, how to save money, where to invest, how to purchase house, where to purchase land, how to save for future expenses, how to save for my future retirement expenses. All these things are bothered by your father. I just took as the example, it is not to discriminate between father and mother, but in general terms, I have taken it as an example. Please don't misunderstand me. So all these concepts are macroeconomic concepts. So macroeconomics deals in broader perspective, microeconomics deals with individual issues. So this is the basic difference between macro and micro. So when you talk about macroeconomics, government is more concerned about macroeconomic indices for a country. government is more concerned about macroeconomic indices because it ultimately decides the destiny of the individuals and the ultimate well-being of the nation. So having this in mind, what are the concepts of macroeconomics? There are several concepts in macroeconomics. One is GDP, gross domestic product. That means I am producing 100 crores of goods and services this year. If I produce 110 crores next year, please remember, if I am producing 100 crores of goods and services this year, and if I produce 110 crores of goods and services next year, what is increase? Increase is 10 crores. 10 crores over 100 crores. That means 10% is my GDP. That means in comparison to last year, what is my increase this year? Any growing economy has to go on increasing the wealth. It cannot reduce. If the wealth is reducing, what will happen? There will be negative growth or recession or depression. But developing country like India cannot afford to go into recession or depression because we with 125 to 130 crore population has to get more jobs. Jobs is possible only with growth. When there is no growth, where do you get jobs? So these are all the macroeconomic indices, gross domestic product, how we are progressing, how we are growing. Second is inflation. Inflation is too dangerous. If today the cost of this product is 100 rupees, next year if the same product costs 120 rupees, this year the cost of this product is 100 rupees. Next year if it is 120 rupees, the inflation is 20%. Inflation is more dangerous. So because of inflation, common man will be affected. Inflation should not be high. Remember, growth should be there. Inflation should not be high. Current account deficit talks about our exchange of money with other countries. We are getting something from that country. We are giving something to that country. We are importing. We are exporting. Our brothers and sisters staying in America, they are sending some money to us. We are exporting software from India to Europe and United States of America. For that we are getting foreign exchange. Like that, cross-border transactions of some type are categorized as current account. Then fiscal deficit. What is fiscal deficit? Before understanding fiscal deficit, I will tell one example. If your salary per month is 25,000 rupees, but your expenditure is 26,000 rupees. Your salary per month is 25,000. I am telling case 1. Your salary per month is 25,000 rupees. Your expenditure is 26,000 rupees. Can you manage? To some extent you can manage. Because every month you are borrowing 1,000 rupees. You can sustain for some time, and after some time you can pay back because you may get bonus, you may get salary increase, you may get some money from your in-laws, you may get some income from your agricultural sources, you may get some income from your rental income. So if your income is 25,000, if you are spending 26,000, somehow you can manage. But look at the second case. If your income is 25,000 rupees, but your expenditure is 50,000, your income is 25,000, your expenditure is 50,000, can you manage? Absolutely no. After 7-8 months, you will become insolvent. So, fiscal deficit is similar word in government circles. For managing governments, fiscal deficit is the deficit or the difference between expenditure and income. The difference between expenditure and income is fiscal deficit. That should not be too high. If it is too high, what will happen? If the fiscal deficit is too high, most of the earnings of government will go for paying the debt. There will not be any income left, even for paying your salaries. So, fiscal deficit should not be too high. Remember, I am introducing these concepts. These are all the concepts of macroeconomics. One is gross domestic product, that shows how we are growing. Second is inflation, how the rates are increasing day by day. Third one is current account deficit, how we are faring with other countries, what we are getting, what we are giving to other countries. Next one is fiscal deficit, whether we are able to manage within our own resources or not. That is fiscal deficit. Unemployment, you all very well know. When growth is there, unemployment will be less. When growth is less, unemployment will be more. So, all these things, exports and imports, foreign portfolio investment. Foreign portfolio investment means, what is the meaning of foreign portfolio investment? That is nothing but foreigners investing in shares of Indian companies. Foreigners investing in shares of Indian companies is foreign portfolio investment. Then, consumption, savings and investment. These three are very important concepts. Consumption, savings and investments. I would like to tell one more example. If your income is 1 lakh per month, take case 1. You are spending 99,000 every month by going to luxurious hotels, by taking up the tours, by traveling to various places. You are spending almost everything. Then it is called consumption expenditure. Consumption expenditure. But if your income is 1 lakh, you are spending 50,000 a month, and remaining 50,000 you are saving to get some house or to get some land or to purchase some gold. That is called investment expenditure. I would like to tell in root terms, if you are going to 5-star hotel and spending lavishly on food and beverages, that is consumption expenditure. But if you are saving some money and purchasing some gold or purchasing some land or purchasing some house or saving in fixed deposits, that is investment. Consumption expenditure is not desirable. Investment is always desirable. But in India nowadays, consumption expenditure is increasing. So whatever it is, these are all the concepts of macroeconomics. When somebody talks about macroeconomics, please don't forget these GDP, inflation, current account deficit, fiscal deficit, unemployment, consumption expenditure, savings, investment. These are all macroeconomic concepts. To manage macroeconomic concepts, there are two policies. One is fiscal policy, second one is monetary policy. Fiscal policy looks at what should be the gap between our revenue and expenditure. That is done by Ministry of Finance. Monetary policy looks at what should be the amount of money available in circulation with the people. So, this is all about macroeconomics. Having learnt these things, anyhow we are going to discuss these things in detail in our banking classes, but for the time being, having learned these macroeconomic concepts, let us learn something about this economic survey of 2014-15. This economic survey, I have already told you, Arvind Subramanian authored this economic survey and presented by Union Finance Minister. So, in this, one important aspect is, for the next year, 2015-16, this economic survey predicts 8.1% to 8.5% growth. That is GDP. GDP is expected to be 8.1% to 8.5%. Right? Because this is made possible because of the reason there are two changes in calculating the GDP. I have already told you in the previous lectures. The two changes are, the base year was changed to 2011-12. The second thing is, now the GDP is calculated on market prices. Market prices. What is market price? I would like to explain a bit on market price. let us take the example of this instrument. Actual manufacturing cost of this instrument is suppose 100 rupees. Actual manufacturing cost. After that he has to add profit, taxes and all, and he sold me for 120 rupees. I purchased it for 120 rupees. Now as per the new guidelines, the value of this instrument is taken as 120 rupees. As per the old guidelines, this was taken as 100 rupees. Now it is based on market price, the price at which I am purchasing. So as per the new criteria, the cost is taken as rupees 120, whereas in the old criteria, the manufacturing cost of only rupees 100 was taken. So that is the change. So let us look at the important aspects as enunciated in the economic survey. First is GDP will be more, 8.1 to 8.5% during the year 2015-16. That is the one thing which he clearly told. Because of improved GDP growth, more jobs will be created and unemployment may reduce. Second one is inflation. Inflation also declined sharply, and there is no worry about inflation as enunciated in the economic survey. Right? Look at these figures. We have already discussed GDP growth 8.1 to 8.5%, and in the year 2014-15, India's GDP is expected to be 7.4%. That is in the current financial year. For next year, it will be 8.1 to 8.5%. Foreign exchange reserves. Foreign exchange reserves are reserves in various currencies, gold reserves. These are the reserves at present touched $330 billion. The position is quite satisfactory. They are increasing for the past 4 years. So there is not much pressure, there is not much danger from foreign exchange front also. GDP is expected to be satisfactory. There is not much pressure in the foreign exchange front also. Foreign exchange reserves are expected to be in the range of 330 through 340 billion dollars, which is at present there is no danger. They are quite satisfactory. Look at the other aspect, subsidies. Government is giving lot of subsidies. We are getting LPG subsidy, kerosene subsidy, subsidy food grains. We are getting rice at rupees 3 a kg, wheat at rupees 2 a kg, and we are getting subsidized pulses in some states. At the same time, we are getting subsidized fertilizers. So these are all the subsidies put together are around 2,60,000 crores of rupees. Ultimately, this economic survey suggested, please reduce the subsidies. Give the subsidies to the persons who really deserve it. So the economic survey told, please reduce subsidies, please link them with Aadhaar and direct benefit transfer. Right? And finally, the suggestions what they have given is, fiscal deficit target of 3% should be ensured. Fiscal deficit target of 3%. Reduce subsidies, reduce consumption expenditure, increase investment, structurally reform railways, make railways as the engine of growth, give more emphasis on public-private partnership because governments do not have much money, so emphasize more on public-private partnership investments. So these are all the recommendations as per the economic survey 2014-15. If one looks at the final print, what exactly is the final advice? The final advice is reduce subsidies, reduce consumption expenditure, increase investment, go for public-private partnership model, undertake structural reforms in land, forest and labor laws. So the economy to sail smoothly, these are the things which are required to be ironed out, and good suggestion was given by the chief economic advisor, and it appears that the economy is going to tread in the same path as evident from the budget of the Honorable Finance Minister of the country. With this, I conclude this lecture. Please do join for lecture on union budget. Right? Thank you. Have a nice time.